All right, let's dive right into a topic that for many couples can feel like stepping into a completely different reality. We're going to explore a desire that really challenges everything we think we know about love, trust, and especially masculinity. It so often starts with this single, totally shocking question. Why? What's really going on inside someone's head to make this fantasy so incredibly powerful? Well, that's what we're here to do. Unpack the deep psychology behind this desire based on what researchers have found. And look, the first thoughts that jump to mind, they're almost always negative, right? It's got to be about failure or inadequacy or that the love is gone. But the real psychology here is so much more complex and honestly, way more fascinating than those gut reactions. Okay, so let's just tackle the biggest myth head on. The research suggests this desire isn't coming from a place of weakness at all. In fact, it often comes from a really profound and, well, an evolved kind of strength. And when you put them side by side, the contrast is pretty stark. Traditional masculinity is often built around control, possession. But this dynamic, it needs something totally different. It requires a man who is so secure in himself and his relationship that he can afford to be generous, to put his partner's pleasure way ahead of his own ego, and who is strong enough to handle some really complicated emotions. So this right here, this is the core idea we have to get our heads around. It's chosen submission. This isn't him giving up because he feels like he's not good enough. No way. It's a powerful, intentional choice to step back and let his partner's experience take center stage. And that takes a ton of confidence. And hey, think about it from this angle too. For a lot of men, the pressure of being 100% responsible for their partner's sexual happiness year after year, it can be exhausting. The idea isn't to be replaced, it's to be complemented. And, paradoxically, that can free him up from performance anxiety and actually make their own connection even better. But we're just scratching the surface. A massive driver of this fantasy has nothing to do with his own failure. Instead, it's all about his desire to witness his partner's ultimate sexual transformation. This concept of erotic witnessing is a huge piece of the puzzle. It's way more than just watching. He wants to see a version of his partner that exists completely outside of their day-to-day life together. A primal, raw, uninhibited version of her that's totally lost in pleasure. So in his mind, it plays out kind of like a movie. First, you drop all those social roles you have to play every single day. Then your true primal self comes out. And finally, he gets the incredible privilege of seeing this secret, hidden truth about you. A truth he might feel he can't unlock all by himself. And check out this quote from the source material. It just perfectly captures the sheer intensity we're talking about. It shows that for these men, the peak moment isn't the physical act, but the psychological lightning strike of seeing that total transformation. But the fantasy doesn't stop there. What comes after is just as critical. This whole experience is often capped off by something called reclamation sex. And this is where psychology and biology just slam together, creating this incredibly powerful, primal drive to reconnect and cement their primary bond. Okay, now we're diving into the really twisty, counterintuitive part of all this, the role of jealousy. How on earth can an emotion famous for destroying relationships become a source of intense arousal? And this is the line that just flips the whole script. He's not running away from jealousy. He's running towards a very specific, very controlled version of it. He's trying to perform a kind of emotional alchemy to turn that poison into pleasure. So let's break this down, because there's a world of difference between these two. The destructive jealousy we all know, it comes from insecurity and fear, and it leads to anger and control. But this erotic jealousy, well, that's born from a place of total safety and choice. It takes that same raw intensity and transforms it into thrill and arousal. And get this, there's actually some cool brain science that backs this up. It turns out the neural pathways for intense jealousy and sexual arousal literally overlap in the brain. So if you're in a context that feels completely safe, where the relationship isn't actually threatened, the brain can basically get its wires crossed and reinterpret those powerful danger signals as erotic ones. So after all that emotional gymnastics, what's the end game? Well, here's the crazy part. What looks like a relationship killer from the outside can actually, paradoxically, lead to a bond that is much, much deeper and more trusting. Think of it as the difference between compels fidelity and chosen fidelity. One is basically trust by default. It's based on rules and not having other options. But the other, that's trust that's been through the fire. It's proven because a partner has the absolute freedom to go, and yet they still choose to come back home. And at the end of the day, it all comes down to this one simple, powerful demonstration. By showing that their relationship is strong enough to survive the ultimate test, he proves that he is and always will be number one. The test itself is what reinforces his position. And when it works, the ways it can strengthen a bond are pretty incredible. The shared secret creates this unique us-against-the-world intimacy. It forces a level of honest communication about desire that most couples never even get close to. It kicks complacency to the curb and injects real adventure back into the relationship. And maybe most importantly, his value is proven when you consciously choose him again and again. Which brings us to the biggest mind-bender of all in this whole thing. True possession isn't about control or restriction. In this mindset, he feels it most deeply at the exact moment he grants you total freedom, because your choice to return is the ultimate proof of love and loyalty. So, you see, this isn't about just one thing. It's not a single switch that gets flipped. It's more like a whole constellation of different psychological drivers all working together. Strength, witnessing, jealousy, and this profound desire for a trust that's been tested and proven true. Really, when you strip away all the shocking details, what are we looking at? It's a journey. It's a journey that challenges our ideas of identity, that pushes trust to its absolute limit, and that asks, what does it really mean to know your partner and to let them truly know you? And I want to leave you with this final kind of provocative thought. This whole psychology suggests that maybe the deepest intimacy doesn't come from building walls to keep challenges out, but from building the kind of trust that allows you to face them together. And if that's true, what could that mean for the future of all relationships, not just these?